Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode. I know it's been a long time, but I want to be quick with this intro because I have a feeling this video might get recommended. So, this is my professional chess debut, and here I played in the national finals of under 16 in my country, which is Romania. So, I've faced a lot of very strong players, and this was more of a learning experience for me. So I am not judging myself, only the games, but I hope you can learn something because I've learned a lot and I'm a much stronger player now. So without further ado, let's jump into the first game, which is actually the first round. So let's just switch over to this scene, and let's see the game. So my opponent, which is 1900, he played d4, and I've looked at a couple of his games and I said, look, d4, I'm gonna prepare the Benoni. The Benoni is not it's standard, at the high level, but you don't see the Benoni every single day. So of course we have d4, knight f6, c4, and here the Benoni, right? C5. And this is, D5, E6. The modern Benoni is on the board. And, this is all theory. Knight F3, G6, G3, Bishop G7, Bishop G8, castles, castles. And here, went for like both players, Fee and Shadow, their light square and dark square bishop, and we have kind of like a symmetrical position, but white has this d5 pawn, which is nicely controlling white's position and development. And here I like to play a variation with a6, a4. This is perfectly fine. Now rook e8 and h3, and here I set out on an ambitious plan which I saw Bobby Fischer play, which is knight e4, knight captures, rook captures, and after knight e2, rook b4. This was played in the game also, and here rook a2, and after this rook a2, I have a move in this game, um, that really like stabilizes for me, which is b5. And after a takes a bishop b7, this really stabilizes my position. But in the game, under the pressure, I was very nervous in the game. This was the first round. I could barely eat, like I was shaking, and I just played c4, thinking that I was gonna lose the rook anyways, because you'll see what happens later. I was afraid in this position that, he's just gonna play b3, and play his bishop out to a3, trapping my rook, of course, with knight to c4 first. So that's why I played c4 to not allow him to play b3. But after queen c2 and queen c7, that's exactly what he played. He played b3, and here I missed that after c3, knight c4, I got my rook trapped anyways. And here, the engine says that I have a5, and the reason that I have a5 is that, this bishop a3 is met with knight a6, and if sorry about that, if he takes, then I take with the knight, and the engine wants to argue that this is actually a lot better than what I played in the game, which would have been a lot better. Now I have this nice c3 pawn. Maybe it's not winning, but definitely a better position than what I got in the game, because this is just a possible continuation. But in the game, after this b3, c3, knight c4, I did not find a5. So I played rook takes on c4, and here he played, of course, b takes on c4, queen takes on c4, and here, he played bishop f4, just developing the piece. Here I played queen c5, guarding my d6 pawn, but after bishop e3, queen c4, he decided to stop the shuffling, and here he realized a very important thing. That thing was that, if let's say he makes a random move with the king, for example, then bishop f5, and white loses on the spot because you cannot guard the rook. The queen does not have a single square. b3 is guarded by the queen, b2 by the pawn, and b1 is covered by the bishop. So you have no squares from which you can guard your rook, and white just loses on the spot. Of course, after queen c4, my opponent saw all of this, and that's why he played a5. And here perhaps I should have went for bishop d7, but I went for bishop f5 anyways, which is rather a bad move in this position, because after queen a4, queen captures, rook captures, now you can really see how he has infiltrated in my position. He's gonna infiltrate rook c4, rook b4, and he's gonna grab some of my pawns. So here I play knight d7, he played rook b4, and here I play knight c5. I said there's no way he gives up the bishop. He's gotta keep the bishop to guard the c1 square. But that's exactly what he did, and that's exactly the engine's recommendation. Bishop captures on c5. We have d captures on c5, rook captures on b7 now because the pawn is hanging and is completely free. And here, I tried one last idea to push my pawn. Of course, I cannot go pawn to c2 right away, because if I go pawn to c2, then this is just met by e4, which is a really strong idea. And after I go back with the bishop, let's say, then he can just play rook c7 and pick up my c pawn. Either the c2 pawn or the c5 pawn, both pawns will be falling. So here, instead of c2, I tried bishop c2, but it's no better. After d6, rook d8, rook c1, bishop a4, we shuffled a little bit, and here just rook b6 coming with an attack on the a6 pawn. And here perhaps again I maybe should have went for bishop b5, but I went for c2, and after bishop e4 I played this bishop b5, kind of locking the rook in now, forcing him to take, and then playing c4, and now I'm threatening this bishop d4 idea. Of course, he just played bishop c6, and here after bishop d4 he simply has a win. So I'm gonna let you guys think for a couple of seconds, and see the winning continuation for white here. It's a combination that really leaves black naked, and there's no way to stop promoting the pawns. So hopefully you guys have figured it out, and if you didn't figure it out, here it is. Bishop takes on b5, so you give up the rook, but why? Let's see. I took on b6, he took on b6, and here I took on b5. But now this position is lost, as he has this b7 move, and here I don't have any move. I don't have any move. I played rook b8, but after d7, king f8, and rook d2, I could simply resign the game. There's no way to stop. There's no way to stop the pawns, and I just resigned the game. Basically, there's nothing more to be done here. I have simply lost this game. So this was the first game, and then in the next round, I went on to play another very long game. This was not a very long game, but in the next game I played pretty good, but honestly I lost due to a silly mistake, and that's a pretty long game. I don't want to present it here. I will maybe present it later. But this is a game from round 5, I believe, right? Is it from round 5? It's gotta be from round 5. Yep. No, it's actually from round 6. Yes, it's from round 6, this one. I have the games here. I have to check them regularly to see which game it is. So this game is played against a guy also rated 1900. This is round 6, and until this round I have not won a single game. So you can just imagine that for yourself, right? I did not win a single game, and I was very furious, but I was still playing pretty good. So here I finally had the white pieces, and I had a chance to play my favorite. You guys know it, right? I played c4, and here my opponent did not go for any e5 main lines. He just went for g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, and we have this setup where it's like kind of the King's Indian, but it's not. I don't want to play d4. I don't really want to play e4 either. So here he just played c5. I played e3, knight c6, knight c3, and here is a very important moment. Here my opponent spent like 10-15 minutes and he played bishop takes on c5. I almost immediately took with the b pawn, and here he played 95, and I was like, okay, I gotta guard my c4 pawn and also my d3 square. So the only move, right, the only good move is d3, which which I played in the game, and it's also, oops, it's also like the engine's recommendation. So here he played queen a5, and after queen c2 and d6, here I went into a real deep think. Like I was thinking about ideas. For example, knight f3, and here what if he would have played bishop h3? You know, what if he would have played bishop h3, and then you know, I was forced to take captures, come with the king forward, and he would have went backwards, and I had to make sure that all of these lines, you know, were okay. On knight f3, what if he captures? I have to capture, and then he goes bishop h3. Okay, I'm not castling. What can I do if he goes for this? So just the thoughts that, no, if he went for this kind of stuff, and I spent half an hour on this move, but I think I spent the time well, because he played knight back to d7. Of course, the thing is, if he simply continued in a way like knight f6, then the captures, and you can really see that his structure is not that good. You know, after castles, you can really see that he's gonna be the one who's gonna be struggling this game. But anyways, after knight f3, he played knight back to d7. We had castles, knight g to f6, and now e4. So you know, he castled. So now we're both castled, and we're transitioning slowly into a middle game. So let me just close the window really quick, and then in this position we like, it's only move 11, but we both had like 10-15 minutes on the clock. So you know, we spent a lot of time in the opening. Knight d2. I wanted to shift the knight over to the queen side. Of course, the engine does not actually agree to these moves. He wanted more of a critical line, you know, bishop f4 and then push e5. But I just wanted to slowly bring my knight over to the queen side. Now at this point we had, you know, like less than 10 minutes. I was not wanting to go into time scramble. So you know, bishop e3 maybe was not the best move, but I think it serves me right. You know, b5 and then captures. So we get this position, right? It's really tense position. There's a lot of pressure. I don't want to play c4 because it kind of weakens the d4 square, and he can immediately take advantage of that, and also, you know, weakens the b4 square and all of that. So here I played rook f to b1, rook b8 he played, and here I played knight d4, offering a queen trade. Of course, the knight cannot possibly be accepted, so we had the queen trade. um, Bishop a6, now attacking the d4 pawn, and now finally c4. Here he played knight e5, you know, attacking the pawn one more time, but bishop f1. Here the engine does not like my approach to this. He wanted something more active, but I did not find any way of making this more active, so I just played bishop f1. Knight f to d5, rook b3, now we just doubled up rooks, and I played king g2. Here he played knight back to c6, and here I played f4 finally. e5 and king f2. So I wanted to shift my king slowly but surely over to the queen side to help with the defense of the d3 pawn. So after this king f2, he played f6, and I was desperate for time. I had 2 minutes on the clock at this point. You know, I was thinking, how can I gain time? And I was, okay, this is a good idea. I'm not gonna lose. So bishop h3, bishop c8. Of course, the knight was under attack, and if you move the knight, then, well, you did not gain anything. You know, your knight. I mean, your knight does not do anything here. But where do you move it? Do you move it to f8? What can it possibly do on f8? You know, so. After this bishop h3, just bishop c8, guarding the knight, sorry, and now bishop e6 check, king f8, and bishop d5. Here I gained more time. I was no, 30-second increment per move is a lot. And here he played knight into e7, and my bishop, I could have saved my bishop, but I didn't want to. I played it into d5 for a reason. F takes e5, knight takes d5, and now e takes d5. Well, we have knight takes e5 now, and although my position is not insanely great, it's at least a draw. And here, maybe perhaps I should have played something else other than I played, but here I played king e2, and after bishop f5, oops, I spoiled the move a little bit, but after bishop f5, I, with under time pressure, I could not figure out how to defend the d3 pawn, so I played knight e1, and tragedy struck when he played knight c4. Just a simple knight c4, and here I was like, what a mistake. And even now I can recall all those feelings. So now I just wanted to save my bishop. Of course, bishop f4, he went back with the knight. Now I played king d2, again trying to move my king over. King e7, king c3, rook takes b3, and a takes b3. So now we traded a pair of rooks. I'm down a pawn, but with this kind of pawn structure, and that kind of low time on the clock, I didn't think he would win this. Knight back to d7, rook a1 attacking the pawn, rook b7 defending. And now I start maneuvering in with the knight. Knight to c2, g5, kicking the bishop out, bishop d2, and knight back to e5. And here I went knight back to e1 because I had to guard my d3 pawn. There was no other way. Bishop back to g6, but now d4, attacking the knight. So of course he played c takes d4, and now I played king takes d4. And if you look at this position, he could take on b3, but that hangs the a pawn with check, and maybe that was playable, but I can just give a few checks, maybe get in the position with the rook, grab the c file. A lot of things would not go that good for my opponent. So he played simply king d7, and here I played b4, now guarding my pawn. Rook to c7, and here I played rook to c1, and we traded queens. And he played king to c7 now. And here I played b5, an interesting choice. I went for a little bit of a sacrifice, but I wanted to really trade the b pawn for the a pawn, and you will see how I'm gonna do that. So we have king b6, bishop a3 now, attacking the d6 pawn, and so he has to go back. King to c7. Of course, he could take, but then just takes, and situation is suddenly looking not so in his favor, because where do you move this knight? Like, let's say you move it here, right? Or to g4, it doesn't really matter, but let's say you move it to c4. I'm gonna slowly come and attack your pawns and push my own pawn. So this is of course holdable, but under that time pressure he preferred to just go back with the king. So after king c7, I played bishop b2, and here he went for bishop e8, attacking my pawn. Now finally, here I went for knight d3, and we had the knight trade, and here he picked up the pawn. So it was unavoidable, right? Now I'm down to pawns, but I'm not really down to pawns. It's an opposite color bishop endgame, so I should be able to draw this, right? Right, guys? Yeah. King to c3, a5, king b3, and now f5. He finally took care of this weakness on f6. And here, after a little bit of thought, I played bishop c3, attacking the pawn. a4 check, king b4. And here I realized that, okay, I'm gonna give up my d pawn for his a pawn, but there's no way he's going to get in. Bishop e8, bishop d2 now attacking the g pawn, and now he plays h6, which is, at this point, the position is a draw. I played bishop to c3, bishop to f7, I captured on a4, he captured on d5, and now I played bishop into g7. Until here, perfect. Like, the computer likes everything that I did. My opponent even played h5, bishop h6, g4, bishop f4, and at this position, we basically could have agreed to a draw, but with that time pressure, my opponent decided to play on, and here I made a crucial mistake. I should just come with the king, and if he pushes d5, I can just come king to d4, and there's no way he enters my position. Like, there's no possible way he enters my position. 'Cause if he wanders off too far, then I can just simply come in with the king and pick up these pawns one by one, because I just I can just do that, because, for example, like, he's not in time. I can just if even if he protects the pawn, like here, even if he protects the pawn, I can just pick up this one, and once he pushes, captures, and this, I think it's draw. Maybe I have winning chances here, but surely better than what I played in the game. Here, instead of king to c3, I played bishop e3, right? Bishop e3 to cut the king off, but after king d5, king c3, king e4, I should have went back with the king. I don't even know what I should have done here. Bishop f4, d5, king d2, king f3, king e1, king g2, and I resign the game. There's nothing more to be done here. I was just shocked. How could I lose this? This was, and he even told me after the game this was a draw. Wow, just wow. This game was insane, and you can really see that I'm really holding my own against these players, which are 1900, and these were one of my best games. I had two games that were also perhaps even better than these ones, but I'm gonna save those for some separate videos. But right now, if you made it to the end of the video, I'm gonna share with you my actual experience. So here, this is an experience for you. So I finished the tournament with 0 points out of 9. I could have possibly scored 2 points, but points did not matter to me after the third round, and you will see why in the next episode. Um, I did not care about points. I just wanted to play the best chess that I could. And as you can see in the videos, I'm holding 60 moves. In the first one, in the first game, actually, you did not see that. But in the second one, I'm holding 60 moves against 1900 players. I'm not that bad. I can do this. And that's what, my coach and friends, they told me that, after an 8-year break, it's normal to not come back with like fully prepared, and that I actually had a great tournament. I scored 0 points, but somehow I feel like I had a very good tournament. You know what I mean? It's pretty weird actually, but I think that it was awesome as a learning experience. Just awesome, simply awesome, because I can never play against people this strong anywhere else, and this was just nice experience overall. um I'm doing this video to motivate you guys, because you can also score 0 points, and you can say, well, nah, I mean, chess is not for me, and all of that. But it's not like that. Right, I'm looking at these games, and I'm saying that I did not play it that bad. No, a little bit of endgame technique. And 1 second, guys, because there it is, my book, here it is, endgames. I'm picking up my book right now, studying endgames. Literally, that's what I'm doing. Let me find the page. Here, I got it. Look, it's endgames. Hopefully you can see that. So that's what I'm doing right now. Feeling more motivated than ever, studying endgames, and really going all out on this chess experience. So this should have been a draw. Right, this game should have been a draw. The other one should have went a lot better if I played b5, but it doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter, because I'm waiting for the next tournament, and until then I'll be studying. So until the next video, guys, I'm Kowalski. Thanks for tuning into this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and just stay motivated. See you in the next one. Goodbye.